Morning. For years, Camilla was one of the most controversial figures surrounding the royal family. But since she and Charles got married here back in 2005...
For years, Queen Camilla has been one of the most talked about figures in the royal family. Since marrying Charles in 2005, her image had been on a slow path to redemption. Until now. Something is brewing inside the palace walls. Something the public was never meant to see. The palace has just issued a statement that could redefine Camilla's future forever. Is her position in the royal hierarchy quietly slipping away? And what does this mean for Prince William, Princess Catherine, and their children? The scene at Kensington Palace that day looked like a page from a fairy tale golden light over manicured gardens. Cameras clicking, the crowd waiting for a glimpse of the young royals. But the moment Prince William stepped to the podium, flanked by Catherine and their children, everything changed. His voice was calm, but his eyes carried weight. And then without warning he made the announcement no one expected Princess Charlotte would be taking on official royal duties. The crowd gasped. Cameras flashed. History was being written in real time. But amid the excitement, a glaring absence cast a shadow. Queen Camilla was nowhere to be seen. No smiles. Nor statement. Not even a wave. Her silence was deafening, and questions spread like wildfire. Was she kept in the dark? Did she disagree with the move? Or is this the first public crack in a quiet power struggle behind closed doors, whatever the truth? One thing was undeniable. Something inside the monarchy had shifted, and the world had just witnessed the first sign. Behind the glittering facade, Catherine was no longer just the elegant figure beside William. She was quietly stepping into a role of real influence. Palace whispers spoke of her offering strategic advice, making calls that shaped the monarchy's direction far beyond photo ops and ribbon cuttings. It was becoming clear the royal family's future was no longer dictated solely by centuries-old tradition. It was being rewritten deliberately, and Queen Camilla's absence. It might be the clearest sign yet that a new chapter had already begun, whether the palace was ready to admit it or not. For years, Camilla had been the safe pair of hands, the one trusted with delicate matters, valued for her calm, measured presence. Her reputation for quiet reliability stretched far beyond Britain's shores. But now, the spotlight was tilting toward the younger generation. Even Princess Charlotte, still just a child, was making moves that raised eyebrows. She had reportedly begun media training far earlier than Prince George ever did. Was this simply preparation? Or a signal that something far more significant was being set in motion? Some called it progress. Others saw it as a warning. Rumors swirled that Camilla was unsettled by these rapid changes. A silent shift happening in plain sight. One that seemed to push the older generation to the edges while new faces moved forward. Then came the whispers of Queen Elizabeth II's final days. Palace insiders claimed she had penned 3 private letters, one each to Charles, William, and Catherine. No leaks, no photographs, no confirmation, only speculation. But whatever was in those envelopes, the aftermath was unmistakable. William and Catherine emerged with a sharper edge, a new certainty in their steps. They were bolder, more deliberate, as if given an unspoken blessing to lead in their own way. Was this what the late Queen had foreseen? Had she quietly urged the younger royals to step forward where Charles might hesitate? The timing suggested as much. William's announcement about Charlotte didn't feel like a spur-of-the-moment decision. It felt rehearsed, long-planned, and heavy with meaning, which leaves the question hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Where does this leave Queen Camilla? Is she retreating by choice? Or is the monarchy evolving without her? One thing is certain, the longer she stays silent, the louder that silence becomes. The ascent of the younger generation was no longer subtle, it was unfolding in plain sight. Prince William's growing presence in the royal spotlight began to create ripples that reached all the way to the palace gates. Those ripples soon became waves the moment he made an unexpected choice, skipping a key event hosted by King Charles to visit a children's hospital in Manchester instead. The contrast in media reaction was staggering. William's visit dominated headlines, with images of him kneeling beside hospital beds, laughing with children, and speaking warmly to their parents. Commentators called him relatable, compassionate every inch, a future king. Meanwhile, King Charles's event barely registered in the public eye. For those who understood royal politics, the message was unmistakable. This wasn't an accident. Queen Camilla certainly didn't miss the undertone. To her, it wasn't just William's absence that stung. It was the symbolism. Choosing to prioritize his own engagement over the king's felt like a quiet challenge to the old guard. And when news broke that Princess Charlotte would be stepping into official duties, the pressure on Camilla's position intensified. It was becoming harder to dismiss the notion that the monarchy was steering toward a new center of power, one that didn't revolve around her. Inside the palace, the air grew tense. According to insiders, Camilla's reaction to Charlotte's new role was sharp. Publicly, she voiced concern over Charlotte's young age. Privately, those close to her believed her frustration ran deeper. It was about what Charlotte represented, a future where Camilla's influence faded into the background. Acting quickly, she called urgent meetings with senior aides, pressing for answers and urging King Charles to reassert authority in public. But the king, weary from the pace of recent events, quietly declined to intervene. His silence was telling. It hinted that he had already accepted the shift, perhaps even resigned himself to it. That left Camilla standing on the sidelines, watching William and Catherine's influence grow stronger by the day. What had begun as a defensive reaction was turning into a struggle simply to keep pace. And yet, her stillness was not born of indecision. It was calculated. Every public absence, every measured smile was part of a deliberate strategy to remain steady in the storm. Meanwhile, Catherine's long, quiet apprenticeship within the royal world was paying off. She had spent years reading the nuances behind the smiles, tracking the subtle currents of palace politics. She knew exactly when to step forward and when to hold back. Some sources even claimed that before Charlotte's debut, Catherine had commissioned discreet research to gauge public sentiment. The results came back clear. The people trusted her and believed in her family's vision for the monarchy. When Charlotte finally walked out beside her father during that historic announcement, the moment seemed suspended in time. She was still a child, yet her posture radiated composure and a gravity beyond her years. No nerves, no hesitation. Just quiet confidence, the kind that makes the world lean in and take notice. That short walk wasn't just protocol. It was the spark of something entirely new for the royal family. Around the globe, eyes locked on Princess Charlotte, she stood with a composure far beyond her years. Chin lifted, gaze steady, moving with the quiet grace of someone born to the role yet untouched by its weight. It wasn't merely impressive. It was unforgettable. Commentators drew instant parallels to a young Queen Elizabeth II, recalling her first poised steps into public life. Others saw flashes of Princess Diana, the warmth, the instinct to connect, the way she made strangers feel like old friends. These weren't comparisons of appearance. They were comparisons of legacy. Charlotte seemed to carry the echoes of Queen's past while adding her own unmistakable spark. This was no stage debut. It was the introduction of a young royal with a voice, a future, and perhaps a destiny all her own. William's subtle gesture, guiding his daughter forward, wasn't performance. It was a silent passing of trust, the kind only a father and future king could give. The world took notice instantly. Social media lit up like wildfire. Hashtags praising her poise and potential trended worldwide. Memes celebrated her as the face of the future. And news outlets across continents carried the same message. A new star had stepped into the royal spotlight. But beneath the applause was something deeper. Many saw Charlotte as the embodiment of what the monarchy could become: less distant, less scripted, more human. She wasn't just fulfilling duties. She was quietly bridging the gap between tradition and a public hungry for authenticity, and none of it happened by chance. Palace sources later revealed Catherine had spent months preparing Charlotte not to be flawless, but to be real. She taught her how to stand, how to smile, but more importantly, how to remain grounded when the eyes of the world were fixed upon her. While Prince George will one day inherit the crown, Charlotte is carving out a unique place of her own. She isn't content to simply watch from the sidelines. Each step she takes reshapes the family's image in ways no one predicted. And this is only the beginning. As the cameras continue to follow her every move, questions hang in the air. Could Charlotte rise to become one of the most influential royals of her time, or will the weight of tradition try to pull her back? The uncertainty only adds to her allure, an open page in the royal story, waiting to be written. The announcement that set this all in motion didn't just ripple through palace corridors, it sent shockwaves across the world. Almost overnight, the focus shifted. Though King Charles and Queen Camilla still sat at the pinnacle of the hierarchy, the public gaze was firmly fixed on William, Catherine, and their children, especially the poised young princess who had just made history. By dawn the next day, British headlines were dominated by Charlotte's image. Some praised her natural charm, others called her the royal family's unexpected ace. But it wasn't just the press driving the narrative, it was the people. Thousands flooded social media with messages of admiration and hope. From Australia to Canada to New Zealand, the voices rose in unison for the first time in years. The public felt a stronger connection to the monarchy. The message could not have been clearer. The world was ready for the next generation to lead. And the ripple effect reached far beyond the cheering crowds and glowing headlines. In diplomatic circles, the change was tangible. Foreign envoys and international leaders, who for decades had dealt almost exclusively with Clarence House, began directing their communications straight to Kensington Palace. Invitations to high-profile events started to shift, with William and Catherine's attendance now being the priority. Inside the palace walls, the shift was even more visible. Royal staff who had once been firmly aligned with King Charles and Queen Camilla were quietly requesting transfers to the younger couple's team. Behind closed doors, strategy meetings under William and Catherine's leadership carried a new kind of energy, forward-looking, creative, and unafraid to challenge old habits. It felt like a fresh wind had blown through the royal corridors. Queen Camilla felt it instantly. Sources close to her say she recognized the change before most, sensing her influence thinning with each passing week. Projects she had championed began to stall. Proposals she had backed were quietly shelved. Conversations that once included her now happened without her. She never complained in public, but those who knew her could see the toll. The shift didn't need to be loud. It was already irreversible. And the public had made its choice. This wasn't a rejection of tradition. It was an embrace of something new. William, Catherine, and Charlotte were becoming the embodiment of a monarchy that felt more human, more modern, more sincere, and that authenticity was proving to be more powerful than any crown jewel. In contrast, the public's perception of King Charles began to waver. Despite his long, patient road to the throne, some saw him as fatigued, a little too removed. Camilla, too, continued to face skepticism, her approval ebbing and flowing with each news cycle. Meanwhile, William and Catherine's popularity only rose. Charlotte, in particular, was winning hearts across continents. She was no longer just the younger sister of a future king. She was becoming a symbol of hope. A girl with strength, warmth, and promise. Parents praised her composure. Teachers called her a role model. Little girls around the world saw someone they could admire. Even George, quieter and more reserved, made his own mark. He didn't need words the way he stood beside. Charlotte spoke volumes about unity and shared purpose. Together, they didn't just look like the future, they felt like it. And the media noticed. Within days, The coverage of royal affairs shifted dramatically. King Charles and Queen Camilla still appeared in official reports, but the global spotlight now lingered on Charlotte's poised smile, Catherine's elegance, and William's heartfelt approach to leadership. Once the public embraces a new narrative, it's almost impossible to reverse. Those inside the palace now admit the shift isn't a passing phase, it's the new reality. Charles and Camilla still hold the titles, but it's the younger royals who hold the world's attention. And with that, adoration comes a new kind of pressure, one that grows heavier with each sunrise, as the expectation builds for them to be not just the heirs to the crown, but the architects of its future. Everything emerging from Kensington Palace now lives under a magnifying glass. Every smile, every word, every subtle glance is dissected by millions, all searching for signs that this new chapter of royalty will live up to their hopes. The younger family members seem to embrace the weight of that expectation. But behind closed doors, not everyone in the royal circle shares the same enthusiasm. The questions linger in hushed tones. Can William, Catherine, and their children truly deliver the fresh, modern vision the public craves, while still preserving the traditions that have anchored the monarchy for centuries? Can they be both reformers and guardians of the crown's meaning? There are no easy answers. But one truth is undeniable. Public faith has been placed squarely in their hands. And right now, much of that hope rests on the shoulders of a girl not yet in her teens, whose quiet grace and self-possession already rival those of seasoned leaders. Charlotte's appointment was never just a ceremonial nod, it was a turning point. A signal that a quiet revolution was underway inside the royal household. William, Catherine, Charlotte, and George did not step forward as heirs in waiting. They stepped forward as a united team, ready to shape a monarchy built not solely on title or protocol, but on kindness, transparency, and a genuine bond with the people. In contrast, King Charles and Queen Camilla, though still at the helm in name, have begun to drift from the centre. Their voices are softer, their influence receding into the background, and perhaps, deep down, they both understand that this transition was inevitable. The world had been waiting for a different kind of royalty, and the younger generation had answered the call. Yet with change comes uncertainty. Will this new path infuse the monarchy with renewed strength and purpose? Or will the quiet frictions behind palace doors eventually erupt into something more visible? Only time will tell. For now, the heartbeat of the crown feels different, steady, warm, and led by a young princess, her protective brother, and two parents determined to lead with heart. Part of that heart lies in how William and Catherine have reimagined royal parenting. Gone is the rigid, distant approach of past generations. Instead, they've built a home where their children are encouraged to speak their minds and share their feelings. The world gets glimpses of this through moments like little Louis's cheeky comments, revealing that even in the House of Windsor, life comes with the same ups and downs. Every family knows. But for Queen Camilla, blending into this new dynamic has not been effortless. Her journey into the heart of this family has been long and fraught. While she shares an easy, natural warmth with her own grandchildren, the same closeness hasn't flourished with George, Charlotte, and Louis. The contrast is striking, and it speaks to a reality many families face in private merging lives. Emotions. And histories is rarely simple whether you live in a suburban home or a palace. Camilla's quiet struggle to build a genuine emotional bond with the Wales children is a reminder that even inside gilded walls, family dynamics can be complex. Some admire how far she has come, especially after enduring years of public criticism, yet others still guard old wounds tied to the memory of Princess Diana. That lingering shadow shapes how people interpret her interactions with George, Charlotte, and Louis. To some, the children's polite but measured demeanour is a sign of respect for the grandmother they never knew but hear so much about. To others, It's simply the natural distance that often exists in blended families. The truth may lie somewhere in between. As George, Charlotte, and Louis grow older, their relationship with Camilla could evolve, becoming warmer or remaining carefully cordial. Either way, it will subtly influence how the world views the next chapter of the monarchy. Every smile, every absent glance, every small gesture between them is loaded with meaning in the public eye. For the children, these moments aren't just about family, they're part of the image they will carry into their own royal futures. The delicate bond between them and Camilla isn't merely personal, it's emblematic of how the royals navigate the tension between preserving tradition and adapting to a rapidly changing world. Camilla's path into William's family has never been smooth. Even as queen consort, she is still finding her footing in a household shaped by deep history and past loss. With her own grandchildren, her warmth is effortless. With the Wales children, the connection is more measured, never cold, but marked by a space that doesn't close overnight. The monarchy's story has always been a tapestry of loyalty, duty, and love, but also of pain, misunderstandings, and the slow work of healing. Camilla's rise to where she is now took resilience. Yet her relationship with the children remains one of the most closely watched undercurrents in the palace. As the young royals grow into their roles, their bond, or lack of it, with her will speak volumes about the institution's capacity for change, forgiveness, and unity. Meanwhile, the spotlight on George, Charlotte, and Louis only grows brighter. George, as the future king, carries the unspoken weight of responsibility with every public appearance. Charlotte draws admiration for her natural ease with people, her confidence, a rare gift at her age. And Louis, the family's irrepressible spark, charms crowds with his unfiltered energy, bringing levity to the formality of royal life. Together, the three offer a glimpse of a monarchy more relatable than ever before. They uphold royal manners, but they also show emotion, connect openly, and remind the world that behind the titles are real children with real personalities. This blend of tradition with authenticity isn't accidental. It's the product of William and Catherine's deliberate parenting. They are raising their children to value kindness, sincerity, and emotional intelligence as much as protocol. But in a world where every moment is captured, replayed, and analyzed, even small family interactions can be turned into headlines. This is exactly what has happened with Camilla's rapport with the Wales children. The press studies every nod, every shared glance, often turning fleeting moments into narratives with larger implications. The relentless gaze of the public makes it difficult for any relationship to grow naturally. Yet, what has kept the royal family resilient through generations is their ability to adapt without losing their core identity. For Camilla and the younger royals, the road ahead may be uneven, but it is far from closed. With time, patience, and mutual understanding, their connection could deepen into something genuine. By choosing transparency over pretense, the family is attempting to keep tradition alive while living in a modern world that demands authenticity. People will continue to watch how Camilla interacts with George, Charlotte, and Louis, not simply because of who they are, but because those small exchanges hint at the monarchy's future. These young royals are stepping into roles that will one day define the crown itself. How they carry the emotional and symbolic weight placed on their shoulders will shape not only their own paths, but also the public's trust in the institution. Sometimes it only takes a single, unscripted moment, a child's candid glance, an unfiltered reaction to challenge beliefs that have stood for centuries. Such moments make traditions tremble and, perhaps, open the door to a more connected future. The Wales children may live within palace walls, but their emotional ups and downs are no different from those of any other family, except that their lives unfold under the watch of millions. Charlotte, the only daughter has already made her mark with the ease and warmth she brings to public engagements. Her grace seems well beyond her years, and her quiet strength often emerges when it matters most. It isn't an act for the cameras. She genuinely cares, especially when it comes to looking after her younger brother. Despite being the middle child, she radiates a mix of playful charm and unexpected maturity, ensuring she stands out every time the family appears in public. Louis, the youngest, is pure energy, a spark of life that can brighten even the most formal royal occasion. Whether it's his curious expressions or the way he speaks without a filter, he offers something refreshingly real. People gravitate toward him because he doesn't hide his emotions. He reminds everyone that even princes are children first. His fearless personality often draws smiles, even if being so visible at such a young age isn't always easy. Each child adds their own rhythm to the family dynamic. George, steady and reserved, naturally steps into a leadership role. Charlotte provides balance with her thoughtfulness. Louis keeps the joy alive with his spontaneous spirit. Together, they create a harmony that feels honest and unforced, remarkable for a family bound by centuries-old tradition. William and Catherine have worked deliberately to keep their children grounded. They want them to understand duty, yet also to enjoy the freedom of ordinary life when the cameras aren't flashing. Their move to Adelaide Cottage wasn't just a change of residence. It was a conscious step toward giving the children space, privacy, and a more natural upbringing close to their grandmother. Choosing Lambrook School was part of that vision, offering a place where the young royals could learn, play sports, explore the arts, and build friendships without the constant reminder of their titles. At Lambrook, the children can run, play sports, dive into art, and form friendships without the constant reminder of their titles. Even in a world bound by centuries of rules, the Wales family is quietly finding ways to nurture each child's individuality. In every small routine, in each quiet choice, William and Catherine are shaping a childhood as close to normal as royal life can be. Weekends at Adelaide Cottage often begin with the smell of pancakes sizzling in the kitchen, a simple Saturday ritual that brings the whole family together in warmth and laughter. There are cozy movie nights, afternoons spent outdoors, and moments of spontaneous fun that mean more than any formal engagement. These aren't just diversions, they are the foundations of security and belonging. And in the relentless glare of public life, such moments matter even more, away from the cameras. This is where the real family bonds are forged. Yet, even in this loving environment, challenges remain. One of the clearest is the difference between the children's natural ease with their Middleton grandparents and their more measured relationship with Queen Camilla. With Carol and Michael Middleton, there is effortless warmth, a familiarity built on years of ordinary family moments. With Camilla, the connection is more formal, a little guarded. It isn't cold, nor is it unfriendly. It simply has a different rhythm. Camilla has made genuine efforts to connect with George, Charlotte, and Louis, but history, personalities, and generational gaps all play a role. And then there is the quiet but enduring presence of Princess Diana. Her memory still lives vividly in the hearts of many, especially in William's. It shapes not only how he leads, but how he raises his children, and perhaps how they navigate their relationship with the woman who now stands beside their grandfather. Sometimes, it's a small moment that stirs public speculation, a glance, a passing comment, feeding endless interpretations. But the truth of these relationships reveals itself in the unplanned exchanges, not the staged photographs. At Westminster Abbey, in the midst of all the formality, there was a subtle shift. It was a reminder that even the most polished traditions cannot fully mask what is real. Moments like these may look awkward from the outside, but they humanize the royal family. They show that behind the centuries of ceremony is still a family, one with emotions, with unspoken tensions, and with genuine care. George's quiet composure, Charlotte's gentle steadiness, and Louis's playful spark are proof that the next generation is already shaping its own path, balancing the weight of tradition with the freedom of a modern childhood. And at the edge of this evolving story stands Camilla, a figure whose journey from outsider to queen consort has been anything but smooth. Acceptance has come slowly, both from the public and from within the family itself. She works to show warmth and support, but her past remains an unshakable part of how she is seen. For William, the memory of his mother is more than history. It is a guiding force, deeply influencing how he lives and how he parents. This makes the bond between Camilla and the Wales children more delicate, more complicated. The children even call her Gaga, an affectionate nickname, yet one that subtly reflects her different place in their lives. She is not the grandmother they run to instinctively, but rather a figure who stands at a careful, respectful distance. This gap becomes most visible during major family events. At last year's Trooping the Colour, the young royals lit up the balcony. George, Charlotte, and Louis laughing, waving, and sharing playful moments with their parents and King Charles. The king, animated and clearly enjoying their company, leaned in often, his face alight with genuine delight. Camilla, by contrast, appeared more on the periphery. Her interactions felt polite, even warm at times, but they lacked the easy spontaneity that comes with deep familial bonds. Observers couldn't help but notice, and many quietly wondered what her true role in the children's lives really was. This distance isn't simply about personalities, it's rooted in history and emotion. William's unwavering love for his mother is more than nostalgia. It actively shapes the way he raises his children and the values he passes on. In their home, Diana is ever present in photographs, in stories told at the dinner table, in the lessons William and Catherine share about compassion and courage. For George, Charlotte, and Louis, she is a grandmother. They never met but somehow know intimately through the love and reverence surrounding her memory. For many, that bond to Diana makes fully embracing Camilla a more complicated prospect. Her connection to the pain Diana endured is not forgotten, and for some, it stands as a quiet barrier. Adding to this complexity, Camilla has her own close-knit family, children and grandchildren from her first marriage, who naturally command much of her attention. At public events, she is often seen in their company. While the Wales children gravitate toward their parents and King Charles, the subtle divide was visible again during a recent Easter gathering at Windsor Castle. Camilla spent time with her biological grandchildren, while William, Catherine, and their children stayed close to the king. These moments, though understated, make it clear that blending royal families is no simple feat, especially when tradition, old wounds, and the scrutiny of the world are all in play. And yet, amid these undercurrents, the Wales children bring something refreshingly human to the royal stage. They laugh freely, pull silly faces, and act like any other children, even against the backdrop of centuries-old ceremony. Their warmth and openness stand in gentle contrast to the stiffness often associated with royal duty, offering the public a glimpse of a monarchy that can smile, play, and simply be. For Camilla, the titles and ceremonies affirm her place in the royal hierarchy. But when it comes to the emotional heart of the family, the bond with William's children tells a more layered story, one shaped by love, loss, and the enduring influence of a woman whose legacy reshaped the crown forever.